The Forgotten Planet, Earth's isolation in the Valari's galactic order. In the vast, star-laced expanse of the galaxy, Earth was little more than a whisper, a blue speck orbiting a minor star on the outer fringes of civilized space. To the galaxy's great powers, humanity was irrelevant, a species still nursing its first wounds from the stars. The Valari Compact ruled the known galaxy. Their dominion stretched across thousands of systems, a web of dominance spun over millennia. Their ships were ancient and massive, carved from planets, built to intimidate. Their politics were cold, clinical, and absolute. And in their records, Earth was a mistake, a planet once contacted, then quickly forgotten when it offered no advantage. Galactic maps didn't even label Earth anymore. Its voice was denied in every major council. Its requests for trade, treaties, and aid were filtered, ignored, or silenced entirely. Humanity existed in the shadows of galactic power, scraping by with what little technology it could reverse engineer from the first contact disaster nearly a century ago. And yet, behind that silence, humanity adapted. Not loudly, not boldly, but with persistence. In underground bunkers and hollowed-out asteroids, human scientists reassembled alien tech like puzzles. Engineers whispered across continents, hiding breakthroughs behind walls of secrecy. Politicians played the fool, while planners drew blueprints that reached for the stars. Earth didn't scream for attention. It listened, it learned, and it remembered. The Valari believed Earth would vanish, choked by its atmosphere, broken by its divisions. But they forgot what made humanity dangerous. Not its size, not its ships, not even its weapons. Its will. And now, after generations of silence and shadows, the galaxy was about to remember Earth. Not as a footnote, but as a threat. A curtain of dark space wrapped around the diplomatic cruiser Vigilant Dawn as it glided silently toward the Valari Council's orbital station. The ship, sleek, matte black, humming with restrained power, cut a stark contrast against the golden arcs and crystalline hulls of the Valari Armada surrounding the station. The cruiser bore no weapons on display, no flashy symbols, just a single insignia. A silver silhouette of Earth wrapped in stars. Admiral Aiken Thorne stood tall on the bridge, his dark uniform crisp, face unreadable. Through the panoramic viewport, he watched the alien warships loom like celestial temples, some shaped like spiraling flowers, others like floating fortresses of shimmering vines. The sheer scale dwarfed Earth's lone vessel, each ship a statement of galactic might. The comm officer murmured, "Final docking sequence initiated, Admiral." Thorne nodded, his voice calm. Let them marvel at the silence. The Valari Council had demanded Earth present itself with humility. Instead, Earth sent a single ship, unarmed, alone, yet intimidating in its calculated design. It was not a show of muscle. It was something else entirely. As the cruiser eased into its docking bay, its reflection shimmered across the polished metallic floor, a ghost of what humanity had become, small, underestimated, and infinitely dangerous. The Grand Assembly Hall of the Valari Council was carved into the inner core of their orbital citadel, walls of living crystal, light streaming from floating bioluminescent tendrils. Delegates from 57 civilizations sat on elevated thrones. Their forms varied, scaled, furred, translucent, even gaseous. Admiral Thorne entered with slow, deliberate steps. His boots echoed in a hall designed to swallow sound. Behind him trailed no escorts, just his shadow. Laughter erupted before he even reached the center. A serpentine delegate coiled its body with mirth. You brought one ship? Another alien, a skeletal figure of flickering plasma, let out a chiming rasp. Is this performance? A jest? Humanity always was bold, if not bright. A dozen more chuckled, snorted, or blinked mockingly. Thorn stopped at the designated platform. He didn't speak. He didn't even blink. A feline-like envoy leaned forward, her voice thick with mock sympathy. Earth has sent a single craft to the most powerful council in the galaxy. Either you are suicidal, or you are stupid. He met her eyes. Or perhaps, he said quietly, we simply don't need more. The chamber fell into brief, amused silence. The arrogance was deep-rooted, centuries old. Earth was the newcomer, the primitive species once caged by gravity and ignorance. But something in Thorn's calm unsettled a few. Not enough to break their laughter, but enough to shift their posture, ever so slightly. Far away, on Earth and aboard hidden listening posts, humanity watched the mockery unfold in silence. Yet no one intervened, because this moment was part of the plan. As the assembly's ridicule echoed through the chamber, Thorn's expression remained unchanged. He heard their laughter, yet he wasn't really listening. Inside, his mind traced back through years of Earth's transformation. The secret alliances, the deep space stations built in shadows, the prototype dreadnoughts birthed in the voids of asteroid fields. Earth had not come to beg, it had come to reveal nothing. The Volari expected noise, bluster, grand shows of power, but Earth had evolved in chaos, wars, climate collapse, extinction-level threats. They didn't need grand gestures anymore. They needed precision, control. Thorn's silence became heavier than the council's jeers. Inwardly, he recited the protocol. Phase 1, arrival. Phase 2, observation. Phase 3, trigger. He glanced up at the High Chancellor, a bulbous creature with flowing robes of blue light. You asked us to arrive, Thorn said. We complied. You asked us to speak. But humanity finds strength in restraint. The Chancellor leaned forward. Are you here to impress us with riddles? No, Thorn replied. I'm here to remind you that underestimating us has consequences. The room stilled, as if those words carried weight far beyond their simplicity. Thorn turned from the assembly without another word. Each step back toward the docking corridor was measured, every footfall a note in a silent symphony that only Earth understood. Once aboard the Vigilant Dawn, he approached the comms terminal. Secure link? He asked. Confirmed, Admiral, replied his officer. He pressed a single command. A pulse of encrypted data shot from the cruiser directly to the Volari Council's private military node. It wasn't an open broadcast. It wasn't even marked urgent. Just a line of code and a string of coordinates. Silence. Then a ripple. Inside the council chamber, screens began to flicker. Systems locked. Emergency protocols activated. Volari commanders scrambled to override their own firewalls. What is this? One barked. A young aide shouted, There's a breach! No, a transmission from the human ship! The High Chancellor's glow dimmed. What does it say? The aide read the message aloud, voice trembling. We are not asking for peace. We are offering one last moment of stillness. Panic did not erupt, but something worse did. Quiet, unease, doubt. Admiral Thorn aboard his ship watched the stars beyond the viewport and waited. The High Council met in emergency session minutes later. The laughter had died. The arrogance now gave way to frantic analysis. What are these coordinates? A delegate demanded. A quiet, spider-like envoy from the Outer Rim answered with dread. They match our hidden relay stations, all of them. How could the humans? Wait, interrupted another. There's more. Look. Holograms filled the chamber, visual feeds of Volari outposts across the galaxy. Each feed showed the same impossible sight: black silhouettes of unknown origin hovering silently near their most secure facilities. A dozen more chuckled, snorted, or blinked mockingly. Thorn stopped at the designated platform. He didn't speak. He didn't even blink. A feline-like envoy leaned forward, her voice thick with mock sympathy. Earth has sent a single craft to the most powerful council in the galaxy. Either you are suicidal, or you are stupid. He met her eyes. Or perhaps, he said quietly, we simply don't need more. The chamber fell into brief, amused silence. The arrogance was deep-rooted, centuries old. Earth was the newcomer, the primitive species once caged by gravity and ignorance. But something in Thorn's calm unsettled a few. Not enough to break their laughter, but enough to shift their posture, ever so slightly. Far away, on Earth and aboard hidden listening posts, humanity watched the mockery unfold in silence. Yet no one intervened, because this moment was part of the plan. As the assembly's ridicule echoed through the chamber, Thorn's expression remained unchanged. He heard their laughter, yet he wasn't really listening. Inside, his mind traced back through years of Earth's transformation. The secret alliances, the deep space stations built in shadows, the prototype dreadnoughts birthed in the voids of asteroid fields. Earth had not come to beg, it had come to reveal nothing. The Volari expected noise, bluster, grand shows of power, but Earth had evolved in chaos: wars, climate collapse, extinction-level threats. They didn't need grand gestures anymore. They needed precision, control. Thorn's silence became heavier than the council's jeers. Inwardly, he recited the protocol. Phase 1, arrival. Phase 2, observation. Phase 3, trigger. He glanced up at the High Chancellor, a bulbous creature with flowing robes of blue light. You asked us to arrive, Thorn said. We complied. You asked us to speak. But humanity finds strength in restraint. The Chancellor leaned forward. Are you here to impress us with riddles? No, Thorn replied. I'm here to remind you that underestimating us has consequences. The room stilled, as if those words carried weight far beyond their simplicity. Thorn turned from the assembly without another word. Each step back toward the docking corridor was measured, every footfall a note in a silent symphony that only Earth understood. Once aboard the Vigilant Dawn, he approached the comms terminal. Secure link? He asked. Confirmed, Admiral, replied his officer. He pressed a single command. A pulse of encrypted data shot from the cruiser directly to the Volari Council's private military node. It wasn't an open broadcast. It wasn't even marked urgent. Just a line of code and a string of coordinates. Silence. Then a ripple. Inside the council chamber, screens began to flicker. Systems locked. Emergency protocols activated. Volari commanders scrambled to override their own firewalls. What is this? One barked. A young aide shouted, There's a breach! No, a transmission from the human ship! The High Chancellor's glow dimmed. What does it say? The aide read the message aloud, voice trembling. We are not asking for peace. We are offering one last moment of stillness. Panic did not erupt, but something worse did. Quiet, unease, doubt. Admiral Thorn aboard his ship watched the stars beyond the viewport and waited. The High Council met in emergency session minutes later. The laughter had died. The arrogance now gave way to frantic analysis. What are these coordinates? A delegate demanded. A quiet, spider-like envoy from the Outer Rim answered with dread. They match our hidden relay stations, all of them. How could the humans? Wait, interrupted another. There's more. Look. Holograms filled the chamber. visual feeds of Volari outposts across the galaxy. Each feed showed the same impossible sight: black silhouettes of unknown origin hovering silently near their most secure facilities. No weapons drawn, no threats made, just presence. The same design as the Vigilant Dawn, only bigger, deadlier. "They've been watching us," someone whispered. "They've been waiting." The realization hit like a meteor storm. Thorne's ship wasn't a plea for recognition. It was a keystone, a symbol, a declaration. Earth hadn't come to talk. It had come to give the galaxy one last chance to listen. Back aboard the Vigilant Dawn, Thorne stood alone in the observation bay. The stars blinked like ancient eyes, watching the birth of a new order. His comms officer approached. "Sir, Council stations have gone dark. No outgoing messages." Thorne gave a slight nod. "Good, they're thinking." No ships had fired, no war had begun. But across the galaxy, humanity's hidden strength shimmered into visibility. The quiet revolution had begun years ago. Today, it simply stepped into the light. On the council floor, the Chancellor finally spoke. "We were wrong." No one responded. The chamber was breathless. And far above, Thorne whispered to the stars, "You laughed at one ship. Let's see what silence brings." Fade to black. The storm was coming. In the heart of the Vahellari star citadel, rage simmered beneath opulent silence. The high members of the Compact, faces lit by the eerie glow of star maps, spoke in clipped tones. Earth's brazen reveal, a single ship casting the shadow of 1,000, was a wound they would not ignore. "Deploy the Shadow Fleet," hissed Archwarlord Threx. His voice, like acid on stone, echoed across the chamber. The Shadow Fleet, hidden in the cold folds of space, had not moved in centuries. A relic of the Hellary conquest, these ships were made for annihilation. Black as void and deathly silent, they absorbed all light, all sound, like they devoured hope itself. Engineers reawakened the silent monsters. Plasma cores ignited with blue fury. Stealth shields shimmered across hulls lined with spike-like weapons. Each vessel was a symbol of terror, designed to end rebellions before they could begin. This was no war, this was a message. But behind their arrogance, a chill had settled. Earth had changed. What once begged for scraps now stood defiant with technology no one had seen before. Adaptive, brutal, and precise. As the fleet slowly advanced toward Earth's outer colonies, the galaxy held its breath. Trade routes rerouted, minor factions whispered warnings, and on Vahellari frequencies, the same phrase kept reappearing like a virus. Humanity adapts. The silhouette of the Dreadnought Vanguard hung like a silent judgment above Earth's moon. Its hull gleamed with heat-resistant alloys unknown to most alien scientists, a union of brutal function and elegant design. It was Earth's reply to centuries of humiliation. Commander Myra Vale stood alone at the observation deck, staring out. Her uniform was spotless, but her eyes carried battle scars. She had fought in orbital mutinies, evacuated crumbling space stations, and negotiated with pirates over crumbling oxygen supplies. Now, she commanded the most powerful ship Earth had ever built. "Commander Vale," came a voice over the comms. "Bridge is ready for final calibration." "On my way," she replied, turning without hesitation. On the bridge, officers stiffened. Myra's presence wasn't loud, it was grounding. Her voice had a weight that made others listen, not out of fear, but respect. She ran her fingers along the main interface. "We don't show up in numbers," she murmured. "We show up where it hurts." The Vanguard wasn't a ship, it was a declaration. That Earth would not kneel, that Earth could strike back. Behind her calm though, Myra knew the stakes. This wasn't just war,
It was legacy. It was humanity's name, etched across the stars, or erased forever. The docking bay buzzed as the last crew members boarded the Vanguard. Soldiers in dark armor ran diagnostics, engineers fine-tuned power cores, and deep in the mess hall, jokes tried to hide the tension. Commander Vale walked through the halls. Her steps were measured, her eyes scanning every face. These weren't just soldiers, they were survivors. Earth's isolation had bred a generation that grew up knowing fear, hunger, and silence. Now, they were humanity's sword. Lieutenant Arun Voss,
an orbital engineer turned weapons specialist, greeted her with a salute. "We've been waiting for this, ma'am, all our lives." Then came Sergeant Lexa Quinn, ex-colony militia, scarred across the face from a Vahari raid years ago. She simply nodded at Myra. That nod said everything: respect, trust, and readiness to die. Training drills followed, simulated strikes, emergency hyperspace jumps. Every system tested under fire. Myra pushed them hard. "We're not a fleet," she told them during a briefing. "We're a flame in the dark. We burn fast, we burn bright, and we make sure they remember the pain." No one spoke, but their eyes gleamed with purpose. They weren't afraid of death. They were afraid of failure, of letting Earth be forgotten again. Not all species admired the Vahari Compact. Some had been crushed beneath its boots, others forgotten. And now, quietly, they turned toward Earth. In the shadows of neutral trade zones, coded transmissions reached Earth's black site satellites. A collective of dissenters, scientists, smugglers, diplomats, offered help. Weapon schematics, trade route intelligence, even temporary cloaking tech. Among them was the Xanor, a reptilian species once allied with the ancient Galactic Accord. One Xanor agent, known only as PIV, shared crucial Vahari fleet data with Earth. And then, silence. Intercepted Vahari logs revealed the truth. Kiv had been captured, tortured. On the Vanguard's bridge, the crew watched a grainy image of the Xanor bound in a Vahari chamber. His eye, swollen shut, still gleamed with defiance. Myra's fist clenched. "They want to break our allies to scare us," she said, her voice low. "We don't let that happen." But the room was split. A rescue mission would risk everything. One wrong move, and Earth's only dreadnought would be destroyed. "We leave him," said one officer. "No," Myra replied. "He trusted us. We owe him everything." The silence that followed was heavy, but one by one, heads nodded. They would go. The Vanguard vanished from sensors as it entered phase cloak, experimental tech from both human and alien minds. It warped light, silenced sound, and tricked Vahari drones into seeing nothing but starlight. Inside enemy space, every heartbeat counted. The mission was precise: locate the facility, breach its security, extract Kiv, and disappear before alarms triggered. Quinn led the strike team. Voss manned the weapons bay, fingers twitching over triggers. Myra stayed on the bridge, commanding with eyes that didn't blink. The facility loomed ahead, an asteroid hollowed out and wired with sensors. One glitch, one wrong signal, and they'd all be space dust. The breach was surgical. Quinn's team cut through walls with plasma scalpels. They reached Kiv in a cell dripping with blue Vahari itcher. He whispered, "I knew you'd come." But getting out wasn't easy. A drone picked up a shadow flicker. Alarm screamed. "Cover fire," Quinn shouted. Voss unleashed microburst railfire, taking out drones faster than they could react. The Vanguard recloaked mid-extraction, vanishing into the stars with seconds to spare. On board, Myra looked at the battered Xanor. "Rest," she told him. "You're safe, for now." In the war chamber aboard the Vanguard, a holographic Valari fleet loomed, hundreds of ships in precise formation. "We can't beat them head-on," said Voss. "No," Myra agreed, "but we don't have to." She outlined Earth's new strategy: coordinated chaos. They would strike where it hurt: supply chains, fuel depots, command ships. each hit a scalpel cut, not to win the war in one blow, but to make every Volari captain look over their shoulder. Quinn grinned. We become their nightmares. The Vanguard jumped across sectors, targeting weak points with ghost-like precision. No trace left behind, just debris and fear. In Volari war halls, panic spread. Some commanders hesitated. Others accused each other of incompetence. Doubt festered like rot. The message was clear. Earth won't play your game. Earth makes its own. And on the Vanguard, Myra stared out into space, a quiet fire in her chest. Let them come, she said. We're ready. The stars above Sol flickered uneasily, as if the universe itself held its breath. They came like a storm, an endless swarm of metal leviathans breaching the edges of the solar system. The Volari fleet. 200 ships, forged in cold voids and bred for annihilation, thundered toward Earth like gods of war. Each one glowed with violet plasma engines and was armed with world-splitter cannons capable of vaporizing continents. Their formation was flawless, their intent was brutal, and their wrath was personal. The humiliation they'd suffered weeks before, when a single Earth vessel outmaneuvered their patrol and exposed the arrogance of their command, had festered into obsession. Now, revenge boiled in the hearts of the Volari High Command. They would erase Earth not just from the stars, but from memory. Galactic broadcasts echoed with panic. Civilizations across the stars watched in paralyzed silence. News feeds zoomed in on the monstrous fleet closing in. Commentators whispered of extinction. Earth, young and rebellious, was about to be crushed under the weight of cosmic retribution. And yet, floating between Mars and Luna's shadow, 6 black spears stood their ground. They weren't flashy, they didn't hum with ceremonial colors or gold-plated glory. They were Earth's dreadnoughts, beasts of survival, built not to intimidate, but to endure. Scarred from past battles, upgraded in secret bunkers, powered by human desperation and ingenuity, these 6 ships faced the impossible. The largest among them, the ENS Vanguard, carried a presence like no other. Not because of size, it wasn't even half the mass of a Volari cruiser, but because of who commanded it. Commander Myra Vale. She stood at the helm, eyes locked on the incoming wave. Calm, focused. Her crew around her moved with silent urgency, each one a hardened veteran of the Terran border wars. They all knew the odds. They also knew surrender wasn't an option. They're almost in range, her tactical officer said, voice tight with dread. Myra didn't blink. Good. Let them see what Earth looks like when we stop holding back. The atmosphere inside the Dreadnought was electric. Systems roared to life. Shields shimmered. Weapon ports opened like the jaws of ancient beasts, revealing Earth's hidden teeth. Across the fleet, captains relayed their status. Every crew member prepared to die. Not for glory, not even for revenge, but for home. Earth wasn't ready. The planet had civilians, children, cities still rebuilding after past skirmishes. But these ships, these 6 dreadnoughts, were ready to make the galaxy remember who they were. Not savages, not victims, humans. From Jupiter's orbit, deep space satellites captured the moment. The dreadnoughts formed a tight spearhead, the Vanguard at the tip. Behind them, Earth, blue and fragile. In front, a fleet of nightmares. And yet, there was no panic in Myra's voice, only steel. Open all channels. Let them hear me. Communications officers obeyed. The message would reach not only the Volari, but every listening system in the galaxy. This is Commander Myra Vale of Earth's Terran Defense Fleet. You came to bury us. You came to laugh. She stepped forward, her face illuminated by crimson alert lights. Now watch. The signal cut. The final countdown began. the silence of space after a storm can be deafening. The Valari fleet, once an unstoppable force, now drifted helplessly in the black void. Their massive warships were barely functional after Earth's furious onslaught. The once proud compact, an empire spanning countless star systems, had crumbled under the weight of their own arrogance. Earth had delivered a blow that would echo through history. In the command center of Earth's flagship, ENS Vanguard, Commander Myra Vale stood, her hands resting on the cool surface of the tactical display, her eyes tracing the shattered remnants of the Valari fleet. Their surrender was not just an act of survival, it was a message to the galaxy. The Valari and their allies, humiliated and beaten, had no choice but to kneel before humanity's terms. "Myra, they've agreed," said Captain Juno, her voice low, betraying no hint of the relief that had to be simmering under the surface. Myra nodded. "Send the terms. Reparations, guarantees, and the freedom to vote without coercion. Let them understand we aren't just surviving, we're reshaping this galaxy." Across the galaxy, the surrender was felt. Once, Earth had been a backwater, a planet among billions, often overlooked and underestimated. But now, the compact was on the defensive, humiliated by the unexpected power of humanity. Their defeat wasn't just a military loss, it was political. The war was over, but its reverberations would shake the foundations of galactic politics forever. The old guard of the Valari, their once unstoppable leadership shattered, now had to swallow the bitter pill of Earth's dominance. The galaxy would never be the same. A new era had begun. The collapse of the Valari Compact was only the beginning of something much larger. In the aftermath of the war, as the galaxy's factions realigned, one truth became undeniable. Earth was now a force to be reckoned with. From a forgotten corner of the cosmos to a galactic superpower in the blink of an eye, Earth's rise was nothing short of extraordinary. With the Compact's territories in disarray, nations that had once dismissed humanity now looked to Earth with a mixture of awe and fear. Former enemies and hesitant allies alike sought to curry favor with the Terran Empire, hoping to navigate the new political landscape. Commander Vale stood before a council of galactic leaders. Their faces were masks of politeness, but behind their eyes was the recognition of Earth's newfound strength. The stakes were higher now. Earth had to walk a fine line, balancing the demands for power with the desire for unity. The tension was palpable, not just between the various alien factions, but within Earth's leadership as well. Everyone wanted a piece of the future, but only the most careful would survive. The galaxy was in flux, but one thing was clear. Earth had not just survived, Earth had thrived. The ceremony was unlike any other in Earth's history. Under the shimmering lights of Earth's new flagship, the Ascendant, Myra Vale and her crew stood at the heart of it all. The weight of their sacrifices hung heavily in the air, but there was no room for grief here, only triumph. The hall was filled with dignitaries from across the galaxy, some Earth allies, others former enemies, all gathered to witness the moment that would define a generation. The applause was deafening, not just for Myra and her crew, but for the idea they represented, humanity's unbreakable will. Myra Vale, for your bravery, ingenuity, and leadership in the face of impossible odds, we hereby award you the highest honor in the galaxy, the President of Earth declared, stepping forward with a golden medallion. Myra accepted the honor, but she knew her real victory was not in the medal. It was in the eyes of her crew. They had all been through hell together, each one scarred by the horrors of war, yet they had held firm. They had saved Earth and the galaxy. "I couldn't have done it without them," Myra said, her voice carrying across the room, her eyes sweeping over her team. Each one of them stood tall, heroes in their own right. And for the first time, Myra felt a surge of pride, not for the battles won, but for the people she had led.
People who had turned an impossible situation into the cornerstone of a new era. It had been a week since the official surrender, and the political intrigue was already starting to heat up. The war had left many fractured relationships in its wake, but none more unexpected than the defection of Zalithar,
a high-ranking officer of the Valari military. The room fell silent as he entered the council chamber, his once pristine uniform now showing the scars of war. His face, though alien, held the weight of a difficult decision. "I come not as an enemy," Zalithar began, his voice steady, yet filled with an unspoken vulnerability. "I come as an ally." His defection had been a calculated risk, one that could cost him everything. But his eyes, once cold and calculating, now carried a flicker of something more human: hope. "I saw what Earth is capable of," he continued. "You did not just survive, you adapted. You fought for a cause greater than yourselves. I choose to fight beside you." Myra stood, the weight of his words hitting her like a blow to the chest. The galaxy was full of strange alliances, but this one felt different. Zalithar's decision was a turning point, not just in the war, but in the relationship between species. If a Valari officer, once a symbol of humanity's greatest threat, could join their side, then perhaps the walls between them could finally come down. Despite the celebrations, a shadow lingered over Earth's victory, a question that refused to be ignored. As Myra walked the empty halls of the flagship, she couldn't escape the nagging thought that had been plaguing her since the first battle. Was this victory truly about justice? Or had they simply sought vengeance for the lives lost, for the cities destroyed? She paused, looking out into the void of space, her reflection merging with the stars. "We fought for our survival," she whispered, though doubt crept into her voice. Her thoughts were interrupted by Juno, who stood silently behind her. "We did what we had to do. We fought for Earth, for humanity." "But at what cost?" Myra asked, turning to face her. "The galaxy will never forget what we did. Some will call it justice, others will see it as retribution." Juno didn't answer immediately. Instead, she looked at Myra, her eyes filled with understanding. "Maybe we won't know the answer right now, but we gave them a choice. They could have continued to oppress us. Instead, they surrendered. That's something." Myra nodded slowly, but the question remained. Earth had changed the galaxy, but had they changed for the better? Or had they simply replaced one tyranny with another? The answer was still uncertain, and as Earth moved forward, that question would continue to shape their path in the stars. X tier, Earth, day. Myra steps off the transport ship and onto the familiar soil of Earth. The once polluted, crowded cityscape now glows with towering skyscrapers and vibrant greenery, a testament to Earth's recovery. She breathes in deeply, taking in the air, yet something doesn't feel right. The city buzzes with peace, but it feels like an illusion, a blanket over the scars of war. The streets are lined with cheering crowds, their faces glowing with admiration, waving banners celebrating her victory. But Myra's eyes, though proud, seem distant. Her hand brushes against the cold metal of the ship's hull, grounding her. She had given everything to see this moment. She stands at the center of the parade, but her mind is elsewhere. The cheers fade to a low hum in her ears. Earth is safe, but at what cost? X tier, Earth Park, day. Myra walks alone through a serene park. The sun sets, casting a golden glow over the landscape, where children play and families picnic. The peaceful scene contrasts sharply with the chaos she's just endured. Myra settles on a bench beneath a tree, her fingers tracing the soft wood. The noise of life continues around her, but her thoughts are far away. She watches the clouds drift lazily by, her mind replaying the battles, the losses, and the sacrifices. So much destruction, she thinks. The sky above seems peaceful now, yet it's the same sky that once bore the horrific sights of warships and burning worlds. Her heart aches for the friends she's lost, for the countless lives that were extinguished to get to this point. What have we really won, Myra wonders?
The peace around her feels foreign, like she doesn't belong in it.
XT Park. As Myra watches, an old news drone hovers by, broadcasting a live feed. She listens as the anchor's voice rings out, recounting events from across the galaxy. The camera flashes to planets once crushed under the heel of the Vihari Compact, now erupting into rebellion. Across the stars, alien species are rising against their former oppressors. Earth's victory has sparked the fire of freedom. The old order is crumbling. Myra's eyes narrow, watching the protests unfold on screen. Alien flags burn. The people of distant worlds shout in unison for their rights. They look to Earth as a beacon of hope. But her heart lurches. What if they mistake us for just another empire? The weight of Earth's newfound power presses down on her chest. XT Park Day. Myra stands, the sunlight bathing her in a warm glow. She watches the families around her, the laughter of children piercing the air. But she feels a coldness inside her, like a shadow that follows her wherever she goes. The faces of the fallen, those she couldn't save, haunt her thoughts. She thinks of her crew, of the friends lost in the flames of war. For every victory, there's a life sacrificed. For every triumph, there's a soul left behind. A deep, sorrowful sigh escapes her lips. The world around her might have healed, but she hasn't. Her heart is heavy with the burden of all they've lost. XT Park Dusk. As Myra begins to leave the park, a gentle breeze rustles the leaves. Her thoughts are interrupted by a broadcast playing from a nearby terminal, the voice echoing in the empty space. They laughed when we arrived. They won't laugh again. But maybe, next time, they'll listen. The words, once spoken in defiance, now carry a deeper weight. Myra's lips curl into a faint, grim smile. As she walks away, the city sprawling before her, a constant reminder of everything they've fought for. Humanity's voice has been heard. The road ahead is uncertain, but the fire of human resilience burns brighter than ever. The galaxy will never forget Earth's rise. And perhaps, just perhaps, it is time to shape a future of unity rather than division.